well, so there's kind of an impact related to, I'm wondering, oh my gosh, what is this, 2025? The dates align from 39 years old. The dates align. Yeah, it is a aha ding dong moment here looking at 39. So my son that I had in 1986, he would be 39 years old this year. Now he died. And so he would have been considered a late term abortion. And I think I talked about this the other day, and what I had said was that if the abortion laws were different for me, I would have had to wait longer up until the due date, or maybe even past the due date, with my baby that was anencephalic. And so that this is why I talk about this stuff. Now, time has passed. 39 years is a long time. You never forget what happened. It is still a part of you, but you have to learn to live with it. Eventually the pain subsides, but you still have to learn to live with it. I always had the memory of, what would have happened. So with my son, I kind of, every year I just remember he would have been in this grade, up to graduation. He would have graduated this year. What job would he have done? He probably would have went in the United States military, because we were a military family. And so I thought he probably would have been in the military. Maybe he would have went to college and been an officer. I don't know. So I liked to have my son doing things. So in my mind, that was comforting to me, to create a life for my son that passed away. And so then I think about, so that Monday I went into the hospital because, well, they actually had told me. So it was early. It was the day after the 4th of July. Well, it was 4th of July weekend, actually. And so before the 4th, I went to the doctor, and the doctor had told me, well, no, I remember going to the 4th of July. And then I had an appointment that Monday, I believe. So it would have been the 7th of July, I think. And so what happened was, then I was flown up to Letterman Hospital, the Presidio of San Francisco, by a helicopter, maybe an Apache helicopter. I'm not sure. There was another elderly lady with me, and she was on a stretcher, but she was on the stretcher above me. And so they put both of us in. I was pregnant and she was old. And so we went in together. And so both of us went up to the Presidio of San Francisco. And so they said they did an ultrasound at Fort Ord. They couldn't see. The doctor said he thought the baby was breached because he couldn't feel his head. So he says, I'm going to send you up to San Francisco. And so we went up to San Francisco. And so I was in this room with, how many women were in that room? I think there was maybe 4 or 5 women in there. All of us were expecting it in various degrees of, having issues. One woman was, preeclampsia. She had swelling late in her pregnancy. And so I think she was 7 or 8 months pregnant. She had swelling. And so they wanted to watch her until she had her baby. So we were all in there talking about the different things that was going on with our pregnancy. And, so none of us were speculating related to mine. Maybe even with, I told him the doctor thought it was breech. And so he says, if it's breech, what we'll do is we will just have someone, we're going to see if we can't turn the baby around so his head comes out. So the head comes out first. They didn't know what gender he was. I never knew the gender of my baby till he was born. And so they weren't doing gender testing back then. And so anyway, they did an ultrasound, and they said, well, our cameras are not that good, we want to send you over to the University of San Francisco. And so there was a doctor named Dr. Michael Hinderstein. No, 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 no. That was my doc. Not Hinder. He was my army doctor, I think. The other doctor, what was his name? My, oh, Dr. Michael Harrison was his name. And he was over at the University of San Francisco. Let me see if he still exists. Because I know he was older. Dr. Michael Harrison was his name. Dr. Well, let's see. Dr. Michael Harrison. Let's see. San Francisco. Is he in? Oh, he's at the Mayo. No, that's not the same guy. Dr. Michael Harrison, San Francisco, UCSF. UCSF. Oh my goodness. I see an older man here. Dr. Michael Harrison. It looks like he still has a profile. He served as the chief of pediatric surgery at Children's Hospital at the University of San Francisco, California for over 20 years, where he established the first fetal treatment in the U.S. He is often referred to as the father of fetal surgery. Okay, so I think he's the doctor that I went to. I'm pretty positive that I met the man. Because he kind of looks the same. And so anyway, they took me by ambulance from the Presidio of San Francisco, and I was at Letterman Hospital, went over to UCSF. They did an ultrasound, and so then I stayed there. After they did the ultrasound. What they said was they wanted to make sure they got as many pictures as they could so they could see what was going on. And so then once everything looked good, they said, okay, we're going to take you back over to Letterman Hospital. So I went back to Letterman Hospital. And so then there was a doctor. So I went back in the room with the other ladies, and I was just telling them that nobody knew what was going on. I didn't know anything that was going on. So I think it was later that day, there was a doctor that came in, and he said he wanted to see me by myself. And so he talked to me in his office, I believe, and he told me everything that was going on. And he said it wasn't good. He says the baby is anencephalic, and then he explained everything to me with what was going on. And so I was there by myself. I had absolutely nobody around when he was telling me what was going on. There was nobody there at all. So my husband was taking care of our other two kids down on Fort Ord. And so he told me everything, and then I had to call my husband, Collect, to tell him what was going on. And I told him that he could come up and get me because the doctor had said that he could come up and get me. I thought maybe I was going to be taken back by Army helicopter, but that didn't happen. And so then I don't know if he came that day or if they moved me to another room. I believe they moved me to another room. Well, that's what the doctor said. He says, we're going to move you to another room. And so I went into another room, and I think it was maybe the next day, because they said they just wanted to watch me overnight. And so my husband couldn't get up there that day, or I think they just said they do the releases in the morning or something like that. This is just kind of from my memory, that there was I was thinking there was a delay in me getting out that afternoon, because I remember asking him, I said, well, can I go home then? And he says, well, we do releases in the morning. And so they moved me to a separate room. And so I told the other ladies goodbye and went off into another room by myself. The thing is, it's like they're in their babies are going to live. And then I'm in a room with a bunch of women who are talking about the future of their babies. That's the thing. This is the things crossing in my mind. because they have a future for their babies. It's likely that all of their babies are still alive, probably, and they all turned out fine. And so I went off to the room by myself and um, was there till my husband came up the next day. Um, and so then I remember him picking me up, and we went over and looked at the Golden Gate Bridge. I remember standing on the at Cliff there, wherever the Golden Gate Park is, and taking a couple pictures of the Golden Gate Bridge because I wanted to see the Golden Gate Bridge before we left San Francisco. And then I remembered I took a picture of Alcatraz too. Um, I thought that was cool, taking a picture of Alcatraz. So it was kind of one of those things, because I was in a state of shock and needing something to distract my mind off of what was going on. And so we drove around San Francisco a little bit, just looking at everything and down the trolley tracks. I always thought that was kind of weird, having trolley tracks down the middle of the road. And then we went back to Fort Ord, and they had told me that I needed to go see the doctor the next day, or make an appointment to see the doctor, or call the hospital or something like that. I had to get in touch with the doctor. So I got in touch with the doctor, um, and I said, the hospital there on Fort Ord, and I said, I just want to have the baby now. I want to be done with it. Because it's just prolonging the pain. That's all it's doing. I know what's going to happen. He's not going to live. And so they told me, I wasn't even thinking of it as an abortion at that time either. And that's why the thing is related to the abortion laws really pisses me off, because it's like, then I would be in that situation. If abortion wasn't legal back then, I would be in that situation of having to wait even longer. And I said, I want it done now. He's not going to live. What's the purpose of having all this high-tech photography and sonograms and x-rays and things if we can't use it to make a family planning decision? But yet as time has passed, that's crossed my mind, with these high-tech sonograms and things like that. What's the purpose of them? What's the purpose of looking inside a woman's belly? Should we ban the cameras? Should we ban the cameras and ban the abortion pill? Maybe we need to do that. That's what I've been thinking. Because if the country wants to go backward in that direction, what good is all this medicine? And really right now, it's just like the medicine is for moms having babies. It's not for everyone, because it's not affordable. Wall Street doesn't want us to have anything that's free, or they don't want us to be taken care of. The truth is the medications don't work. Nothing would have saved my baby. Absolutely nothing. There's no heroic measures that would have saved my baby from being anencephalic. And, I've often thought, well, was there some shots that my husband had to take being in the military because they forced him to take vaccinations? So was there some shots he had to take that interfered with the gestation of my baby? Because the military was always forcing the troops to take shots and vaccinations and things. I don't know what he took. I have absolutely no idea what he took. But what I do know is that they said that there was a higher rate of anencephalic babies in the Salinas Valley, California area. And some have said it had to do with paraquat, which is Agent Orange, because military bases, it came out that they used Agent Orange on military bases. And so there was soldiers who said they were using Agent Orange on military bases at the time that we were there. And so now Fort Ord is closed, and it's a park. And, and who's to say so we had old pipes, probably lead pipes, that were cracked, maybe leaking. The paraquat the Agent Orange is leaking into the pipes of the water that we're drinking. Our housing was old, so nobody cared about us. But yet we're supposed to be caring about all these foreign countries, and they just redirect our brain someplace else instead of caring about our own country and the people in our own country. Now, at that time, and even to this day, I believe from what they said, there's a higher rate of anencephalic babies in the Salinas Valley area where they use a lot of chemicals on the field. And that's where they're using the migrants. So if there's any migrants listening, you all might want to be listening to this, to what you're coming to the United States to work in, the fields. Now, when I was a kid, we worked in the fields too, where they used chemicals. So there could be just a buildup of environment